Hey guys, Nicole Cooper here, and we are live. And I am sitting in front of a Starbucks, one of my favorite places, right, to meet people. Just had a meeting. I am in my workout gear. But I wanted to talk to y'all really quickly about 3 steps to operating from a place of spirit-driven success. 3 steps to operating from a place of spirit-driven success. Or I think I put purpose-driven success. But I'm reading the book Spirit-Driven Success by Danny Johnson. And I got up early this morning, and I've been committed to really getting back on track spiritually to be able to operate in a place of guidance, to really hear what God is, where he wants to lead me, right? I can't go into too much detail right now. I want to keep this short and sweet. But the point is, the focus that I want to make here is when you know that there's so much more inside of you, but for whatever reason, you are in this place of stuck, right? In this place of stuck. Hey, Antoinette. And so I don't even want to say I'm in a place of stuck. I think for me, it was more so in a place of needing to be obedient. I wasn't really stuck. I was just being disobedient, right? So I looked through my library pretty much and saw the book Spirit Driven Success and was like, okay, I really need to pull this back out and read it again. And so I began reading the book. And one of the things that that Danny Johnson talks about is the fact that so many of us feel useless if we're not on a pulpit preaching to people, right? We feel like that preachers are the ones that are designed to impact people's lives. But for whatever reason, if we know God has put a calling on our life, we feel less significant if we're in business, right? We feel like it's a conflict of interest. And we're like, well, Lord, I don't know how you can use me when I'm in business, because maybe I'm in the wrong for wanting to be successful in life, right? We have this kind of crazy belief that our gifts and our talents outside of a church or a seminary school or whatever is not as valuable. What I had to do was get quiet and begin to trust myself, because I always say that business is my ministry. And so I needed to understand. Come back. Okay, can y'all see me? If it goes in and out, it says connection is poor. But anyway, a lot of us don't understand that God wants to use us even more so outside of a building. He wants to use us right where we are. He wants to use us in what we have and what we know and what we can share and what we can bring to the world. And we don't have to feel guilty about being entrepreneurs. We don't have to feel guilty about wanting to use our gift of song or our gift of whatever it is. One of the things that Danny Johnson shared in her book Spirit Driven Success was, there's this book called Revolution that this guy wrote, and he talked about the top 7 influencers in the world, right? What are the core, where do people get influenced from? Because a lot of us, what we don't understand is, it's not about you being super holy that's going to make any impact. Impact comes from influence. If you really want to get people's attention, if you really want to put your mark on the world, you have to have influence, right? And influence means that people pay attention to you and people listen to you. But we think that we don't have, the right outside of a church or a building or whatever. I don't know. It's crazy. I don't know where these philosophies come from. Maybe it's just ingrained in us from childhood. But what this guy did, he did research. He did a questionnaire of where do your influence come from? And I can't remember all of them, but the top 7 was like music, television, something else. But church wasn't even in the top 20, right? There was really no impact, no influence coming out of the church. It was coming from people in positions of celebrity, right? It was coming from people in positions of power. It was coming from people in positions of the ability for people to see something in their lives that made them want to listen to them. So here's the deal. Being broke is not going to bring you influence, and it's not going to bring you the ability to empower people, right? Hiding in the shadows of others is not going to bring you any influence or the ability to empower people, right? Burying yourself under trying to be like everybody else is not going to bring any influence. It's not going to put you in a position of empowering people. What's going to give you influence is the ability to be able to stand in your own light in whatever it is that you do well, whether it's sports, right? These are the top influencers, celebrities, right? Musicians. television stars, right? People who are, oh, the audio not working. Can you guys hear me? It says connection is weak. Can y'all hear me? I hope it's not. Can y'all hear me? Yes, no, maybe so. Oh, people are falling off. Maybe. Nobody's responding. Can you hear me? Yes, no, respond. I hate these live streams for that. It's always an issue. I feel like I should do like my video first. Nobody hear me? Yes. I'm getting the thumbs up. Can y'all hear me? Yes, you can hear you? Okay. Yes? Oh, okay. I think it's a little delayed. All right, cool. So here's the point, guys. You know, in order to get to a place of impact and influence, I think for me, for so long, I knew God called me to do something great, and I knew it wasn't business, but I still questioned it. I questioned the vision that He gave me, or I made it hard and complicated to operate in that thing. And when I say I made it hard and complicated, is I oftentimes would try to figure out all the pieces before I said yes to it, right? It's like, all right, God, I see it, but until I can figure this out, I'm not going to act, right? And in the meantime, I would jump into something that looked to be ready-made for me to move forward without me having to really figure it out, right? And it reminds me of the story of Abraham and Sarah wanting to have a baby. And she was 70 something years old. And she came to him with the bright idea that they can go get the maid to have a baby. Like, oh, well, since I'm so old, why don't we just grab Hagar and have Hagar have our baby for us? It ain't gonna make you cheat on your wife to give birth to a child, and God is not gonna make you cheat on your destiny to give birth to what He's called you to do, which means that you don't have to go out and chase a counterfeit in hopes that it look like a real deal. No, you need to honor the real deal and trust God's process, that even though you can't figure out all the steps, that is still going to come to pass because it is what He said He's going to do. If He could give Sarah a baby at 70 something years old, He can give birth to your dream, right? And so I want to share with you guys 3 steps to, I don't know if I put spirit-driven success or purpose-driven success, but I did these things, you know, over the past 6 weeks. And I was talking to my friend today, Larry Beecham, and I was just saying, you know, I said no to a lot of stuff lately. And it feels good to honor what God has called you to do. And God called me to shut it down, like pretty much say stop. Right? Like, stop trying to figure it out. Stop trying to make your own way. Stop trying to compromise what I'm telling you to do. Stop trying to allow everybody else to influence what I'm telling you to do, or not influence or compromise what I'm telling you to do. But be obedient to what I said, and I need you to hear from me, right? So here's 3 steps that I want to share with you guys in order for you to operate from a place of spirit-driven success, all right? Or purpose-driven success. The first thing that you need to do is cut off the noise. Cut off the noise. And what does that mean? Well, sometimes, guys, we try to force stuff to happen. And you can tell when you're trying to force stuff to happen. When you're trying to force stuff to happen, it gets frustrated a lot, right? And it seems like you just can't figure the journey out. It's just complicated. It's hard. It's frustrating. It's empty. It's depressing, right? You know, there's a lot of things that I would try to force to happen. And I was just telling Larry, I said, you know, even though I made a lot of decisions that I knew were against what God had called me to do, He gave me a lot of grace and He gave me a lot of favor. And what that means is that although I was often disobedient, I still was able to succeed and excel. You know, because, hey, I don't know. Can't explain that one. Favor is unmerited, right? God just puts you in position of elevation. But the thing about cutting off all the noise is when you finally get frustrated enough where you say, you know what? I'm just going to put this in your hands. I'm going to step back and I'm just going to wait to receive from you. What happens is you'll realize that all the resources are already around you. But you have to learn to stop trying to exhaust your personal power and start allowing God to increase your guidance and spiritual power, right? Where you start understanding how all the pieces of the puzzle around you come together. I can explain that on another note. Number one, cut off all the noise. The second thing that you have to do is you really need to fast and pray. A lot of people even me, we don't pray. We'll call everybody for advice. Well, what you think about this? Well, I've been struggling with this thing. Let me ask you, like, what you think I should do, right? We might open up a scripture. We might open up a daily Devo. We'll read it. But while we reading it, our brain is all over the place thinking about the 15 different things we got to do today. And we give God about 5 minutes while we on the toilet. Yes, that's what we do, right? You go in the bathroom and you take your Devo book with you, your phone or whatever you do, right? And you give God about 5 minutes. Tell me what I should do. And here's the deal. Nobody can give you the greatest plan for your life outside of God. I can go and do a sermon on this. But the thing, right? He works through your vision. God shows us things like, there's one of my favorite quotes that says, dreams are illustrations from the book your soul is writing about you, right? Dreams are illustrations from the book your soul is writing about you. And so a lot of times we'll have a vision and we'll play that vision all the way out. It'll be super duper clear. Like you can see every single step of that vision. And then we erase that vision and call somebody and say, what should we do? God speaks to us through visions. God speaks to us through dreams. God speaks to us through our imagination. There's a spiritual alignment that needs to happen to build the trust, right? There's a spiritual alignment that needs to happen to build the trust. And when I say spiritual alignment, it's a surrendering of saying, God, I trust you and I'm going to believe in you. And I'm going to step out on faith that as ridiculous as this vision is, I'm still going to believe that it can be possible, meaning I'm going to take action, right? Because the Bible teaches us to ask, seek, and knock, right? Ask, go seek it out, and knock. Like, take action, not pray and just be like, okay, I'm going to wait on you to come knock on my door. But you ask, seek, and knock. And when you allow yourself to surrender to God's will for your life, you're giving God the authority to manifest the supernatural that your body can't figure out, your human side of you can't figure out. So when it comes to fasting and praying, like this morning I got up and Danny Johnson in her book, she was like, why don't you stop putting God in this box and limiting him to this small little space of only what your brain can do? We're trying to take a supernatural, omnipotent God and make him fit into how our human brain works. She was like, why don't you ask God for the impossible? Why don't you ask God to do the daring? Why don't you ask God to bring you all the resources you need to make it happen? Why don't you ask God to position you in places of financial wealth? Because God wants you to have all the tools and resources you need to excel. Why not ask God that? Why do we think God wants us to be broke? Why would God create? I told my husband the other day, I was trying to talk him into traveling the world. I said, why would God create this whole earth for us to live in one place for our entire life and never go nowhere and explore? Why would he do that? He wouldn't do that. He didn't create the world for me to be stuck in one place for the rest of my life. No, he created it for me to explore. He created all the things around us for us to be able to experience them here on earth. And so we have to get to a place of expecting the ridiculous from God, the supernatural. And that means that you begin to shift your thinking. It's a whole metaphysical reason for that, because as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. When you begin to think about things not being possible, they become impossible for you. When you begin to say, I don't care what people say, it got to happen, guess what? It happens. If you look at the track and field, right? You look at track and field. You had this 19-year-old kid from South Africa who just won the 400-meter race, whose coach is 74 years old, right? She's 74. And I bet you a lot of people said, what you doing with a 74-year-old coach? It's impossible to win if you got a coach that's 74 years old. Why would you have a 74-year-old coach coaching you? Guess what? That 74-year-old coach produced a 19-year-old kid whose mama, because of her race, couldn't compete back in the Olympics because she wasn't of Caucasian descent and they wouldn't let her compete. But she said she's not worried about that. She gave birth to a son who ran a race with a 74-year-old coach. Not only did he win the race, but he broke Michael Johnson's world record, right? Whole nother story. When you look at track and field, when you look at sports, whenever somebody creates a higher expectation or unrealistic obtainable goal and somebody reaches that goal, it makes it easier for other people to reach it. The first guy who ran the 1 minute mile was Dave Bannister, I think is his name, or whatever. They said that it couldn't happen. When he did it, like 40 something other people came behind it and made it happen. So we have to believe and expect the impossible can be possible. But the only way you can do that is if you're connected to a supernatural source that you know is way beyond your control, can manifest miracles in your life. That's a whole nother conversation. So anyway, fast and pray, right? You got to fast and pray. One of the things that I can honestly say is that as a family, we've been praying a lot more. My husband's been praying over me. We've been praying with our kids. And it's like the minute we pray and we start trusting God, the doubt leaves. And then the resources show up because there is an internal expectation for an outcome that we prayed for. So now things start being aligned, right? Things start being aligned. So the first thing is cut off all the noise. The second thing is to fast and pray. And then the third thing is to document and do, right? Document and do. When I say document, what I mean, guys, is we got to journal, right? You got to journal and start mapping out what you see in your vision. And the reason why I say journal is because when you journal, it's almost a self-healing process. It's almost the way the spirit speaks through you. You'll find that when you start writing stuff down, stuff will come out of you that you didn't know was in you. You'll start seeing your brilliance. You'll start looking at your writings and be like, whoa, where'd that come from? And not only that, but you'll start seeing repetitive things that are written down that are God's way of saying, yoo-hoo, this is what I'm telling you to do, right? What happens, guys, is when words leave our mouth, they don't come back, but they leave our mouth and there's more that come behind it. So as we speak things, that we talk about them, but they leave our mouth with more things coming behind it. But when you write something down, right? When you write something down and you visually connect to it and you begin to look at that thing, what happens is it creates a visual accountability of it having to manifest. It's just a connection piece. The vibration of you saying it is important, but writing it down and looking at it when it stares you in the face, it's almost like your advisor. It's like your spiritual advisor is saying, this is what I'm showing you. This is what we're going to do. And this is how you make it. Questions mapped out. When I show y'all what I got mapped out, I map out everything. My ideas, when it come to me, I use mind maps. I use tons of resources and I document everything that comes to mind. The crazy thing is, a lot of times I'm documenting stuff that are like super duper amazing and super duper brilliant, but I have absolutely no idea how in the world it will ever come to pass. All I know is it's in me and I got to get it out. And so I write it down, 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 I write it down. Well, the funny thing is when you do these three in accordance, when you cut off the noise, when you stop comparing yourself and looking at what everybody else is doing and trying to keep up with the Joneses and trying to do what's popular. And then you say, God, I'm going to fast and pray to get in alignment with the vision that you've given for me. And you document and you actually commit to doing what you document. What happens is now all of a sudden things begin to manifest rapidly. You guys will hear more about what's happening right now, but everything that I've been praying for is like unfolding so quickly before my eyes. And what's so beautiful is there's this major boldness and confidence and clarity, and the ability to truly understand what I need to do for that manifestation side to come to pass, and the people. It's all coming together. I'm like, oh my God, everything I needed is all around me. But now, because of that 3-step process of turning off the noise, fasting and praying, and documenting and being committed to do the work, things are truly manifesting and starting to come together. And I'm like, God, you so real. You so real. You are just so wonderful. And so I just want to encourage you guys in those 3 steps. Turn off the noise, pray, fast and pray, and document and do. When we talk about fasting and praying, guys, listen. In the world we live in today, it's so much oppression. It's so much hopelessness. And we are some of the biggest people of hopelessness. We're educated. We are to the world standards, we're financially successful. We're very well established. We're married. We got kids. We live in houses that we own. We got cars. We got this. We got that. We got 401ks. We got saving plans. You know, we got all the resources. We have great friends. We have wonderful social life. We go to a great church. Everything on the outside looks absolutely amazing. But the inside of our worlds are crumbling apart so freaking fast. It's like when you pull on a sweater, the little string, and it begins to unravel, right? It's like your lives is unraveling up underneath this perfect image and facade on the outside. You know, the Bible tells us that this generation will become, what is it? Wiser but weaker? Weaker but wiser? I think that's what it says. I got to study that a little bit more. But we're unraveling, and we don't understand. It's like, it's almost to the point where it's almost out of control, right? Where you can be on a high 1 minute and you hit the ground in like a deep depression, dark, deep depression, maybe even considering suicide the next, because you feel unworthy and worthless, right? We are in like some really psychotic times, and it's not that you crazy. It's just there's an emotion life. And the reason why is because we're so out of touch spiritually. We're so disconnected to our source spiritually that no matter how much more we accumulate in things, how much more we accumulate in social outings and clothes, and I got more friends, or I get to know the who's who in the world, the emptiness gets deeper and it gets darker, right? And it gets to the point where it starts getting uncontrollable and it consumes us. And we can't figure it out. Like, why am I so crazy? Why am I losing it when I got everything together? And the reason why is because you lost touch of your source. You are disconnected from He who has created you. And what happens is we begin to live in shame because we start thinking, oh God, I'm crazy. And I don't want nobody to know I'm crazy. So maybe if I just hide from people, they won't know, right? Maybe if I start avoiding hanging out with folks, or I don't answer my phone and talk to people, or I don't go to social outings, or maybe if I get my stuff together first before I start getting back out there, getting around people, maybe I'll get it all together. And so we start hiding and we go into isolation. And then the isolation creates this separation of feeling like you matter. And then it gets deeper and darker and deeper and darker. And next thing you know, we on the brink of suicide. Like, seriously, like, I'm not joking. I'm having a lot of conversations with a lot of people, and it's like really happening, like, to everyday people you would never think. People's kids are kind of going out of control, and it's not that they're bad kids or the people are bad. It's that there's an emotional void, a spiritual void that makes us hide. And we no longer step out into who we are. We no longer engage in the conversations to say that I'm willing to work this thing out. We no longer feel worthy of love, right? So a lot of us, some of our marriages are falling apart because we feel like we don't deserve our spouses. It's crazy. It's all kind of stuff happening. And it all boils down to the spiritual connection to the source. And there's a lot of deception, right? There's a lot of deception coming from churches, coming from religious people who are saying that because you have all these flaws, that you don't deserve God's love, which is the total opposite of what it really is. God loves you because you screwed up. That's why He died on the cross. That's why Jesus died on the cross, because we so jacked up. He was like, look, y'all can't never fix yourself. Let me go on and sacrifice my life, because I know you'll never be able to restore, repair, or replenish anything that you ever mess up, because you're a human being who have flaws. And I want to let you know that I want to position you to be covered no matter how crazy you are, how psychotic you are. I'm going to love you no matter what, if only you give me the right to make it happen, right? So I want y'all to understand, like, screw everything you ever heard about church or religion or whatever, because this is not about church or religion. It's about a relationship with a God that loves you, that we all need as a source. It's almost like, if you think about an energy car, right? Cars that function off of not gas, but off of being plugged into an energy source. They have a meter and they let you know when you're getting close to E, you need to find one of these sources and plug your car in. Well, if you get to a place where you're driving your car and you're saying, you know what, I'm not going to go to the energy source. I'm going to figure out a way for me to energize this car myself. Let me go out here and try to create something that's going to recreate this energy. Guess what? Your car is going to cop out because you didn't plug into the source. You put your car in a compromising position because you didn't connect it to the thing that needed to recharge it. You began to neglect and avoid the fact that no matter how brilliant you are, you can never charge your own car. You got to plug it in to the electrical source that's going to boost the charge. It's the same thing with God. You're out here trying to recharge yourself. You're thinking, I'm going to read all these self-help books and I'm going to watch every YouTube show with John C. Maxwell and Joyce Myers and E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher and Marie Forleo and Tony Robbins and everybody out here who's motivational and inspirational and can teach us all these things. I'm going to keep watching these videos and I'm going to keep saying affirmations and I'm going to keep reading these books and I'm going to listen to audios and I'm going to fix myself. Well, guess what? You will never be able to fix yourself. The only way you're going to ever be able to get recharged is if you plug into a source, right? And it's not about religion. It's not about going to a building. It's not about a priest putting their hands on you. It's about you saying, Lord, I surrender all because I know that you are my source. And no matter how screwed up, jacked up, confused, baffled, and crazy I am, you will still love me and guide me and allow me to continue to recharge into you because that is why you are God and I'm not, right? That's why you are here and I'm not. And so I want y'all to understand, like, you're not crazy. We're all crazy. I think it's the human flaw, right? You're not alone in your craziness. Let me say that. We're all crazy. We all go through these combative places in life. And the issue is most people hide them. They hide them well. They put on them red bottoms, baby. They put on whatever suit they can rock. Or I don't know anything about fashion. That's not my department, right? As you can tell, I'm in hat and workout gear. But whatever they put on, they put it on. They get the hair done. They put the right makeup on. The men know how to put their swag on. We know how to cover it up. But our lives are falling and crumbling apart. And we feel so underutilized. We feel like wasting away. Like we're wasting away. I told my husband, I felt like I was wasting away. Why am I wasting away? I feel like I was rotting. It's like I read this article the other day about all this Olympic. I think they spent $10 billion on the Olympics, right? And they like pretty much put a lot of people homeless to build these Olympic stadiums. It's crazy. I'm not going to get into that conversation right now. But they went through all this stuff to build these Olympic stadiums. And here's the sad part. They built all these stadiums. They put all this stuff in place. But once they use this stuff for the Olympics, it probably will never be used again, right? A lot of energy went into making this one event happen. And now a lot of those buildings are going to be abandoned and they might rot. And they were showing like from the 1965 Olympics, the millions of dollars that went in back then in whatever different places and how they're rotting away and never got any attention. And they look crazy. A lot of us feel like that. We feel like a one-time event that was abandoned. And that's what happens in life, whether it was going to graduate from college or, getting married or having your child or getting the promotion at work. We feel like our life is a series of one-time events that we get abandoned from afterwards because we rot afterwards, right? We feel underutilized. And the reason why is because we live our lives goal-oriented and not growth-oriented, not understanding that your purpose is so much bigger than an event. Your purpose is so much bigger than an accomplishment. Your purpose is fulfilled in the capacity of the space of time that you live on this earth. And that if you were able to truly surrender to a lifelong call and not a one-time achievement, that you will begin to feel utilized, that you will begin to feel empowered, that you will begin to feel like, okay, God, I see every day I wake up, I got a purpose. I see every time I open up my mouth, I have an opportunity to impact. I see every time I step out of my household, it is an opportunity for me to be utilized, and that I can know that every step I take, every word, every moment that I breathe, every person I come into contact with, it is an alignment for an assignment so much bigger than myself that I can understand that I am worthy, I am needed, I am necessary, and I am purposed in everything that I do. And so a lot of us are living life on a one-time event, right? We live in life for social media post to social media post, Facebook Live video after Periscope video, right? Instagram post. How many likes did I get this time? How many comments did I get this time? Oh, I didn't get any comments. Oh, shucks. Nobody likes me. I give up. I'm not putting any more posts up. Listen, it ain't about the comment. It ain't about the likes. It ain't about the post. It's about the consistent commitment to living a life that God can use you, knowing that it's not goal oriented, but it's growth oriented, that every day I grow, every day I surrender, every day I commit to being who God has called me to be, that I'm going to be operating from a place of purpose. I'm going to constantly be positioned in opportunities for me to be able to impact. I'm going to be in a place where God can use me so that I can become a marketplace resource, a marketplace minister to impact people no matter where I am and what it is that I'm doing, whether I'm a college student, whether I'm a cosmetologist, whether I'm working at a daycare, whether I work at Taco Bell and I serve tacos and queso, whatever. I know that everything that I do is all in alignment with an assignment, and so I can feel purposed, I can feel worthy, I can feel necessary, I can feel needed, I can feel like I am truly being a vessel that God is allowing to be used on this earth, and I'm no longer burdened by one-time events. But I know that it all is falling in alignment and it's all coming together for the good according to God's will and purpose for my life. And so I want you guys to think about those three things. I want y'all to think about, what do I need to cut off? This summer, I cut it all off. I cut it all off. I cut people off. People wanted me to be on their calls. They asked me to be on their telesummits. They was asking me to be on their stages. I said no. I said no to everything. I don't care how much money was involved. I don't care how much opportunity. I don't care how big the audience is. I don't care. I cut it all off. I cut business off. I stopped working. I stopped putting myself in positions where I was being like, thank God I was smart with my money. That's another whole nother subject we need to talk about, and the ability to have things in place to have a financial resource to give me the freedom to make it happen. But I was willing to surrender and cut it all off, fast and pray, and then begin to document what God was showing me so that I can be able to do those things that are on that list that is in alignment with the assignment that He has given me. And guys, those are the 3 steps that I want to encourage you to take, and stop putting yourself in position where you're waiting for a man to validate or tell you what God has already shown you, right? The vision that you have oftentimes won't be applauded. Oftentimes it won't be supported. Oftentimes it won't be understood. And sometimes it might even be laughed at by other people. It might look impossible. It might look ridiculous. It might look like you are insane and losing your mind. But guess what? That's why. Okay, here we go. Awesome. So anyway, the connection is weak. It's trying to cut me off. You have a unique fingerprint for a reason. And what I want you to do most is follow these 3 steps, but trust what God is showing you. Trust what God is telling you. Trust what you see as your vision. Don't doubt because it's not some super holy, crazy, something that looks familiar of what we consider church or the way that God works. Look, God worked through all of us. Let me tell you something. God can work in some of the craziest places. God can work through prostitutes, right? Which He did. There's a book in there. Jesus talks about when He met the lady at the well, right? Who was sleeping around with a bunch of people. God can do that, right? There was another around, right? God can use people who might cheat. David cheated. David was a cheater, right? There's things that happened that wasn't necessarily godly, but God still used them people. Don't ever allow your past to make you feel that you can never operate in your purpose. Just surrender to God and say, Lord, you know what? Forgive me for all this craziness that I did. I really need to get your help. Just show me what it is you need me to do. And then begin to trust that God has a purpose in your life and where it is that He wants to lead you. And it don't always look like what we think it's going to look like. God needs people everywhere. He needs them in Starbucks. He needs them in the grocery store. He needs them in a daycare, right? He needs them in the social worker's office. He needs them in IKEA. He needs them at the gas station. God needs us everywhere. So wherever you are, understand that where you are purposed and positioned to be there. And we need you to function from a place of purpose where you are positioned, because that is where you will have your greatest level of impact and influence. And when you begin to operate from a place of functioning in your gift, when you start understanding what I see in my vision is what I'm assigned to do in my life, and I'm going to commit to doing the work that will support this vision, what's going to happen is God is going to bring the resources your way, and supernaturally, miraculously, the things that were impossible will become possible. The Word of God says the things that are impossible with men are possible with God. The impossible will become possible in your life and begin to be manifested. And men won't praise you until until it's complete. So stop waiting for praise, validation, support, confirmation, and all that other stuff, because 9 times out of 10, most people don't even get the public praise until their task is completed. So you got to complete the task before people even know what you were called to do. All right. So do the work, get it done, and make it happen, and stop waiting for the crowd to applause. Yay, congratulations, good job. Stop waiting for that. Get it done. So anyway, I got to use the bathroom. Got to go pee. I've been drinking too much water. Bye, y'all. Talk to you later. I hope that this message helped you. Go ahead and tag other people in this message. Put it out there to other folks. Marketplace ministry is a big deal. It's time for us to step into our role. And so that's it. That's it. I hope you were inspired. 3 steps to living out your spirit-driven purpose. Your purpose-driven success. Spirit-driven success. And then go look up Danny Johnson's book, Spirit-Driven Success. Amazing. All right? D-A-N-I Johnson. Have a good day, y'all. Bye.